Good morning, everybody. It is midweek, Wednesday morning, 9 a.m., straight up here on WCNC Plus. I'm Jane Monreal, and you are watching Live Impact News. We want to start you out this morning with some breaking news. We are learning about a crash. It's happening right now. I'm going to show you a map of the Lake Norman area. This is happening where our crews just arrived. We'll get a live picture at the scene here shortly. In the meantime, Iredell County Sheriff's Office confirming it is responding to this crash. It happened about 7:15 this morning. As of right now, no injuries are confirmed, but we are learning that a bass boat as well as another leisure boat were involved here. So NC Wildlife is handling this case, and they are dealing with all of these moving boats, excuse me. But patrol deputies are on scene. They're helping with the accident and trying to get folks out to safety. So as soon as we learn more, we will bring you the very latest here on Live Impact News. In the meantime, U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi just finished up a press conference announcing actions against the state of Maine. This is because of an enforcement. It's been a back and forth between the governor of Maine as well as the Trump administration. Maine did not sign about Title IX. They did not sign a regulation there by the federal government. So she is announcing this enforcement now against the state of Maine for violating Title IX, involving allowing biologically born males to play and get involved in female sports in school. Here it is. You're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus.
With me here today, I have our great Secretary of Education, Linda McMahon, Representative Laurel Libby of the Maine State House, Linnea Saltz of IWF Women's Sports Advocate, Stephanie Turner, a fencer, Zoe Hutchison, a Maine athlete, Cassidy Carlisle, a Maine athlete, and my dear friend, you all know Riley Gaines, who has been a champion on this issue for women. Today, the Department of Justice is announcing a civil lawsuit against the Maine Department of Education. The state of Maine is discriminating against women by failing to protect women in women's sports. Pretty basic stuff. This is a violation of Title IX. The Department of Justice will not sit by when women are discriminated against in sports. This is about sports. This is also about these young women's personal safety. I've met many of these women throughout the past weeks and months, and what they have been through is horrific. We have exhausted every other remedy. We tried to get Maine to comply. We don't like standing up here and filing lawsuits. We want to get states to comply with us. That's what this is about. We have repeatedly notified Maine of its infractions and urged them to remedy the situation to protect women. We've stripped grants from Maine through other departments, and we are going to continue to fight for women. Let me give you some examples. Let me give you a timeline. This timeline, I think, is pretty important. So in February 2024, these are just a few examples. A biological boy started competing in women's ski races and cross-country races in Maine. He came in first in the 5K with a time that would have been 43rd among men. In February 2025, a biological boy won first place in the pole vaulting competition in Maine's indoor track and field meet. He beat every other girl by a significant margin. That qualified him for regional championships. That took a spot away from a young woman in women's sports. Shame on him. February 21st, 2025, President Trump has the governors at the White House. President Trump has the exchange with Janet Mills. He asked her about the issue. Her response, "We'll see you in court." Well, we still didn't sue. HHS and the Department of Ed opened investigations in an attempt to get them to comply. They both found violations, and in March, Maine refused to comply. I want to read you this letter. This is from the Maine Attorney General to the Department of Education. We will not sign the resolution agreement. We do not have revisions or a counterproposal. We agree we are at an impasse. Nothing in Title IX or its implementing regulations prohibits schools from allowing transgender girls and women to participate on girls' and women's sports teams. Well, they must not be reading the same Title IX that we're reading. We believe they are failing to protect women, and it's not only an issue in sports. It is a public safety issue. These boys are allowed to go in women's restrooms. They are allowed to go in the women's dressing rooms and get fully naked and change in biological boys and change clothes in front of these young women. Maine's leadership has refused to comply at every turn, so now we have no other choice. We are taking them to court. What we are seeking an injunction to get them to stop this, stop what they're doing. That's pretty simple. And we are seeking to have the titles returned to the young women who rightfully won these sports. And we are also considering whether to retroactively pull all the funding that they have received for not complying in the past. And I'm so proud of these brave young women standing behind me. I see and lots of parents in the front too, and I've met you. Thank you to the parents for supporting your daughters and telling them it's okay to fight back and stand up for what they believe in. Some of these young women have endured vicious injuries too as a result of boys playing in their sports. It's my honor now to introduce to you our Secretary of Education, Linda McMahon.
Good morning, everyone. I don't think I could have been stated any better than it was just presented by our Attorney General, Pam Bondi. And I thank you very much for your participation this morning, and I will echo Attorney General's comments about how brave these women are, these young women. And of course, Riley Gaines has been a staunch advocate for the Title IX infractions, since she came on board. And we're so proud to have Riley out there as such a prominent spokesperson. So today, we're announcing a weighty development in the Title IX investigation into the Maine Department of Education. The Department of Education, analyzed Maine's Education Department for compliance with Title IX of the Education Amendments of 1972, which prohibits sex-based discrimination in any school or education program that receives federal funding. Unfortunately, our investigation has found that Maine continues to willfully violate Title IX and to strip the civil rights of female athletes in the state. And as Pam alluded as well, it's not just about their civil rights, it's about their safety. And we, after our investigation, we found we really had no other choice. We thought the infractions warranted turning them over to the Justice Department for their further investigation. So how do we get here? On February 5th, President Trump signed the executive order keeping men out of women's sports, which directed all states and educational programs receiving federal funds to cease the practice of allowing males to compete in sports programs for women. They didn't make this up. This is the law. This is Title IX. This executive order was aimed at protecting women like fencer Stephanie Turner or volleyball player Peyton McNabb from being injured and unfairly outmatched by male athletes. President Trump didn't pull any punches. He explicitly warned Maine and Governor Janet Mills that Maine would risk losing federal funding if it continued to allow males to participate in women's sports. Governor Mills chose to openly flout Title IX compliance, telling President Trump, and I'll repeat what the general said, "We'll see you in court," and obviously we are going to. That same day, our Office for Civil Rights opened an investigation into the Maine Department of Education and Maine School Administrative District Number 51 for permitting males and girls sports and denying female-only intimate facilities. The department's investigation confirmed Maine's Title IX violations, and we offered Maine leaders multiple opportunities to change their policy and to protect women in sports, and they have refused. So now as DOJ begins their enforcement actions, I hope Governor Mills will recognize that her political feud with the president will deprive the students in her state of much more than the right to fair sporting events. After all, compliance with federal civil rights law is a universal prerequisite for receiving federal funding. The Trump administration could not be any clearer to all states, sports leagues, and educational institutions. We take the violations of women's civil rights very seriously. I have 3 granddaughters, and I want to make sure that they are treated fairly and that they aren't exposed, in dressing rooms. We want to make sure that if you open women's sports or intimate facilities to males, you expose yourself to federal civil rights investigations. Governor Mills will definitely get her wish. We thank you all for being here this morning. Look forward to seeing you later.
Thank you, Secretary. I'd now like to introduce to you State Rep Laurel Libby from Maine, who has been a champion for these young women in the state of Maine. And thank you, Representative.
Thank you, Attorney General Bondi. It's unfortunate that we have to be here today because Governor Mills and legislative Democrats, along with the Maine Principals Association, continue to persist in discriminating against Maine women and girls. They are out of alignment with 2/3 of Mainers who believe that biological males have no place in girls' sports. Earlier this week, MSAD 70 School Board voted unanimously to align with Title IX. They're in alignment with 2/3 of my fellow Mainers. And I would encourage other school boards throughout Maine, I would exhort you to speak up for Maine girls similarly and vote to align with Title IX. I thank you to the Trump administration and AG Bondi for taking action on behalf of our girls and helping to ensure a safe, fair, and level playing field in Maine.
Thank you. President Trump, before he was elected, this has been a huge issue for him. Pretty simple. Girls play in girls' sports, boys play in boys' sports. Men play in men's sports, women play in women's sports. And he got to know a great young woman during that time named Riley Gaines, and we are all so proud and honored to have her here with us. Riley has been a champion nationally for this issue. Riley, please join us.
Well, goodness gracious, it's an honor to be here, to stand beside, of course, Secretary McMahon, Attorney General Bondi, these amazingly brave athletes, Representative Libby. But truthfully, I'm frustrated. I'm frustrated that we have to be here, that we as women have to stand before you all on national television demanding equal opportunities, demanding privacy in areas of undressing, demanding safety in our sports. Amazing to me that we are still here fighting this fight, that the Democratic Party has really doubled down, tripled down, quadrupled down on their ridiculous stance, but that's exactly what they've done. Let me tell you what sports has done in my life. Of course, in terms of athletic achievement, I very proudly finished my career as a 12-time NCAA All-American, a 5-time SEC champion, actually the SEC record holder in the 200 butterfly, making me one of the fastest Americans of all time, a 2-time Olympic trial qualifier, SEC Scholar Athlete of the Year, SEC Community Service Leader of the Year. The list goes on, but again, just to really reiterate, it's a lifelong journey. It's how I met my husband. It's what gave me my lifelong friends. It taught me how to be a leader. It taught me how to set goals and work to achieve those goals. All things that, of course, I'm utilizing in my life now beyond sports, that leadership in Maine, Governor Mills, Democratic leadership really across the nation, that's what they're denying girls and women of. I'm sure you guys saw the clips and the visuals that surfaced following President Trump's executive order signing of this EO, barring men from participating in women's sports within any educational program that receives federal funding. And it was the most amazing thing to be there. And you have all of these young girls. I'm talking 5, 6, 7, 8 years old. They've got their jerseys on, their sports uniforms, their big bows in their hair that they wear on the soccer field. That visual means more to me than I could possibly put into words, and that is what is at stake here. That is who Governor Mills is fighting, not Donald Trump. It's those little girls, and I believe that's sick. It's regressive is what it is. They do this under the guise of progress, indicating we are moving in the positive forward direction. No, what Governor Mills is doing, and again, Democratic governors across the nation, is deeply regressive and utterly misogynistic. Over the past 3 years, I've had the opportunity to speak to countless girls in Maine and again across the country, countless parents, coaches who all virtually say the same thing. Why wouldn't anyone protect my athlete? Why wouldn't anyone protect my daughter? Why wouldn't anyone protect me? I've talked to girls who have lost roster spots, of course, podium finishes. I've talked to girls who have been exploited and simultaneously exposed to naked men in intimate areas of undressing. I've talked to girls who have been severely injured in their sports due to a male player on the opposing team. For crying out loud, we have a female representative from Maine, Laurel Libby, you just heard from her. She didn't tell you what happened to her. She lost her ability to vote and to speak on the House floor for defending girls and women, for posting about what was happening in Maine. No, this type of oppression didn't happen in Afghanistan. No, this type of censorship didn't happen in England. It happened right here in America under Democratic leadership. Again, this isn't progress. I would describe this as betrayal. Let this be a notice, these actions that we have seen put forward today by the Department of Justice, by the Department of Education, to all other states who are not willing to comply with federal law, that federal law being Title IX, which is very clear in how it was originally implemented, or at least it should be. We never knew we had to define this word sex until these both elected and unelected bureaucrats started to go through the back door and reinterpret this word to mean what they want it to mean. Originally implemented in 1972, it was only 37 words, very brief. Ultimately, of course, preventing sex-based discrimination. Let this be a notice. California, Minnesota, the likes thereof. If you do not comply with federal law, you do not get to reap the benefits of complying with federal law. Of course, one of those benefits being receiving federal funds. Women are protected and recognized under federal law, again, that law being Title IX. The U.S. government under President Trump, including the Department of Justice, including the Department of Education, will not stand by and ignore when the federally protected rights of women and girls are being violated. Again, that encounter between Governor Mills and President Trump went viral for really all of the right reasons. I think she thought she had this mic drop moment when she said, "I'll see you in court." Guess what? You will, because President Trump is a man of his promises. That was his campaign slogan. That's what we've seen delivered. Promises made, promises kept. This is another one. People, the American people, girls, women, boys, men, old, young, white, black, gay, straight, none of those identity factors matter. We want transparency and we want accountability. Again, we voted overwhelmingly in favor of that on November 5th. And accountability is back in the White House. So I stand before you all today, and I thank you, again, Secretary McMahon, Attorney General Bondi. I thank you on behalf of course, myself, but I think more importantly, my younger sister, of all the women and girls who have dreams, like I did when I was young, to achieve, to succeed in my sport and beyond. So thank you.
Riley, thank you. And Zoe would now like to say something. Tell us about your sport too, Zoe.
So I compete in soccer and indoor track and outdoor track. And like was mentioned previously today, I had to watch at the Maine Class B State Indoor Track Championship as my close friend and my teammate and other female competitors lost the state championship to a biological male. And this was heartbreaking for me to have to watch. And Riley said that it's betrayal, and that's what it is. It is the job of our elected officials to protect our young female athletes, and they have failed to do that. We walk into sports expecting to have a level playing field, and to walk into the state championship to see a biological male there and to lose to a biological male, that's betrayal. And so I am extremely grateful to AG Bondi for standing up for us when our elected officials aren't doing that. And on behalf of the girl athletes in Maine, I just want to say thank you all, and I look forward to having a level playing field back after this fight. So thank you.
And Cassidy wants to say a few words.
My first experience was when I was 13 years old. I was going to change for gym, and I walked into the locker room, and there was a biological male there. From that point on, my junior year, I competed in Nordic skiing and lost to a biological male numerous of times. I am fighting this fight for generations to come. And the fact that our governor can look the women of our state in the eyes and say, I'm not going to fight for you, is heartbreaking, and it's betrayal, like Riley said. I just want to thank all these women standing behind me and President Trump for fighting for us, because even though my own governor isn't fighting for me, I know there are people out there fighting for me.
Thank you, Cassidy. It takes a lot for these young women to be standing up here saying this too. And again, I'm looking at their amazing parents in the front row who have supported them, who I've gotten to know, who are protecting them every step of the way and telling them that they have a voice to stand up for themselves and future generations of young women to come and many athletes. Gates, should we take some questions?
Yeah, absolutely.
Questions?
Mary Margaret, Daily Wire.
Thank you, Attorney General Bondi. I wanted to ask if there's other states that you're focused on. Which ones are next for these types of abuses, including men and women's prisons?
Well, first we're looking at, for this, we're looking at Minnesota, we're looking at California, we're looking at many, many states, but they are the top two that should be on notice because we've been communicating with them. And just like Maine, we're not going out there, we don't want to be suing people, we want them to comply with the law. And that's what we're doing. We have given them opportunity, Maine, an opportunity over and over again. The Department of Education, HHS, they went and sat down with them in person, multiple meetings, and got nowhere. So now this is where we are because they refuse to protect young women in their state. So yes, Minnesota, California, multiple states. As far as prisons, had nothing to do with Title IX. We took away funding from Maine as well. We decided to go a different direction in our grants because we saw one reason they allowed a 6'1", 245 giant man who had violently, no murders, nice, but he had violently murdered his parents with a knife and the family dog, serving life in prison, and he chose to identify as a woman. So guess where he's being housed? In a female prison in Maine. So therefore, my office, we don't want to give any more money to the Department of Corrections in Maine if that's how they're going to act. We're going a different direction in our funding.
Sadie with the Journal.
Hi there. So Maine's governor yesterday said there were maybe at most 2 trans athletes in Maine schools right now. I just was hoping you could talk a little bit about the sort of amount of federal resources that you're putting into this and why that's worth it given the small impact in Maine. And I have a second off-topic question too. Given that it has some of the same elements as the fire bombings of Tesla dealerships that you've charged federally and called domestic terrorism, I'm wondering if you would say the arson at Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro's house would also be domestic terrorism and something you would investigate federally, and if not, what constitutes domestic terrorism?
Okay, so first, the on-topic question about the, I haven't heard Janet Mills' comment. Governor Mills said it's only a couple trans athletes. Well, I think those are boys who identify as girls wanting to beat girls in girls' sports. Well, if one young woman is in jeopardy, one, that's enough for us to be standing up here. One, no boy will be undressing in a girl's locker room. No boy will be walking in a woman's restroom. And no boy, when we're finished with this, will be beating young girls in sports. These young women have, many of them have trained, since you were in elementary school for your sport? Riley, when did you start swimming? 4 years old. They have trained their entire lives. Some of them have lost scholarships. They have lost regionals. They have lost state because of boys. I don't care if it's one. I don't care if it's two. I don't care if it's 100. It's going to stop, and it's going to stop in every single state. Tesla. You ask about, yes, Tesla. You ask about, so I spoke to Governor Shapiro. I think you're referring to his governor's mansion. I spoke to him. It is absolutely horrific what happened to him. Kash Patel also spoke to him. We have been praying for Josh, for his family. Those photos, it was horrible. I firmly believe they wanted to kill him. The defendant allegedly said he was going to use a hammer if he could have gotten to the governor. I've known the governor many, many years. It is horrible. And yes, we are working with state authorities to do, it's now a pending investigation, anything we can to help convict the person that did this and keep them behind bars as long as possible.
David?
Two questions, one on topic and one off topic. I'll start with the on topic. Minnesota and California, you mentioned you're looking at them. Are there active investigations into those states? Are there conversations? In which state do you expect to be next based on those conversations?
Both. We have reached out to them. We have sent them letters. We're in the same posture we were in the beginning here with Maine. So let's see what they do. Let's hope they comply. Again, we don't want to sue anyone. We just want you to comply with federal law and protect girls, period. But yes, we are fully prepared to sue them and others that we will be looking at as well.
And then my off topic, big topic over the past few weeks, Kilmar Abrego Garcia in Maryland. He's in a prison now in El Salvador. He was sent there. You insist, the president, everybody in the administration insists that he is MS-13. It appears that there's not going to be any sort of trial. He's not going to come back. DHS said he would be arrested and redeported if he comes back. Why not show the American people the evidence that he's MS-13 so they can make an informed decision? And that goes the same with this Henry Josue Santos, who was picked up in Virginia, who is now presumably going to be deported as well. Why not show the public the evidence?
Well, he is an illegal alien who has been living illegally in our country from El Salvador. ICE testified, an immigration judge ruled he was a member of MS-13, an appellate judge ruled he was a member of MS-13. Hard stop. He should not be in our country. He was deported. They needed one additional step in paperwork, but now MS-13 is characterized as they should be, as an FTO, as a foreign terrorist organization. So he is not coming back to our country. President Bukele said he was not sending him back. That's the end of the story. If he wanted to send him back, we would give him a plane ride back. There was no situation ever where he was going to stay in this country. None. He would have come back, had one extra step of paperwork, and gone back again. But he's from El Salvador, he's in El Salvador, and that's where the president plans on keeping him.
But the evidence, we're not going to see the evidence?
We have the transcripts from the court hearings. I'll be glad to give you the court hearings from 2019, what we have, sure, with the rulings from the judges, gladly.
All right, last one, Reagan.
Reagan Reese, Daily Caller. Madam Attorney General, there's a Maine school board, MSA D number 70, which voted unanimously on Monday to defy the governor and to comply with Title IX. With the action you're taking today, will it be possible to exempt schools that comply from any future punishment?
Yes. And I think that was very brave and bold of that school board. We just saw that as well. The question was one school board in Maine voted to comply. And again, that's all we wanted was compliance. So yes, we will not be going after them, looking at them in this lawsuit because they are complying and they're protecting women in women's sports. Thank you.
And that press conference out of Washington, D.C. wrapped up with U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi announcing actions will be taken against Maine for the governor not signing a federal executive order back in February, denouncing pretty much Title IX rights, the right for biological boys to play sports that are meant for girls, born girls. All right, want to get you an update right now on a collision that I talked about here, top of the hour at 9 o'clock. Out in Lake Norman. We are still waiting for our photojournalist to arrive on scene, but you know how big that area is. This is a two-vessel crash that we reported. Two boats collided there on Lake Norman this morning, shortly after 7 o'clock. And it appears that North Carolina Wildlife Resources Commission confirming that there are two vessels involved. Also, occupants, didn't say how many, but occupants of one or both of those vessels have been taken to the hospital for treatment. As far as their injuries, we are still waiting to learn more information, the extent of their injuries, and we'll pass along that information as soon as we learn more and whatever else led up to this collision. Coincidentally, it's certainly not because of it, but the National Professional Fishing League begins an event today on Lake Norman that is from today until the 18th. The Fishing League, a professional bass fishing tournament that is today through the weekend. All right, the opening bell rang as well, and the New York Stock Exchange, as we bring up the big board here, starting out in the negative, minus 140-ish, keeping tabs on that as tariffs and conversations around tariffs continue all over the world. Also, speaking of worldly events, we did have former President Joe Biden speaking yesterday for the first time since he left office in January. And he did talk about Social Security rebuking comments. His comments were rebuking the Trump administration's policies on Social Security. Let's play you that snippet here from last night when he was in Chicago. There's Live Impact News on WCNC+.
Dignity. Simple dignity. Everyone deserves to be treated with dignity, regardless of their standing, regardless of their economic situation, regardless of who they are. Making sure that more than 60 million Americans who are living with disabilities are treated with dignity is who we are as Americans. That's what it's about. Social Security is more than a government program. It's a sacred promise. We made it a sacred promise. One of the most important jobs of any elected official is to make sure the government works for the people, works for all people. It's understandable. They can understand what it is. And then we keep our promises to the people, to all the people. In fewer than 100 days, this new administration has done so much damage and so much destruction. It's kind of breathtaking it could happen that soon. They've taken a hatchet to the Social Security Administration, pushing an additional 7,000 employees, 7,000 out the door in that time, including the most seasoned career officials. Now they're getting ready to push thousands more out the door. Already we can see the effects. In the 90 years since Franklin Roosevelt created the Social Security system, people have always gotten their Social Security checks. They've gotten them during wartime, during recessions, during a pandemic. No matter what, they got them. But now, for the first time ever, that might change. It would be a calamity for millions of families, millions of people. But the current Secretary of Commerce doesn't seem to get it. Or based on his comments, he doesn't seem to even care. But when he talked about the possibility of the Social Security checks not going out this month, he shrugged it off. Folks, it's not just the Secretary of Commerce. We heard how others, empowered and emboldened by this administration, talk about Social Security. One of them called it a Ponzi scheme. A Ponzi scheme? What the hell are they talking about? People earn these benefits. They paid into that benefit. They rely on that benefit. And no one should take it away.
All right, Alma Adams also speaking on Social Security, as yesterday was Social Security Day of Action. And in an initiative described here, Representative Alma Adams, who does represent Charlotte, participated in this day. She met with constituents at the Social Security office in Southeast Charlotte. We're going to play part of that news conference for you here today on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Congresswoman Alma Adams, and I came today with a message to President Trump, Elon Musk, and the Republicans in Washington. I don't have one yet. No. So my message to President Trump, keep your damn hands off of Social Security. Right now, at a time when people are struggling to put food on the table, the cost of living has never been higher. And more Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. People are working 2 and 3 jobs, trying to make the ends meet. Working hard is not enough if you don't make enough. So Republicans are working to gut Social Security operations, making it harder for every single American to access this essential life-saving service. So shame on you. Shame on you. Shame. Social Security, it was a promise made to the American people on August 14th, 1935. So what the hell happened to promises made, promises kept? In my district alone, 110,000 plus people access Social Security every single month. Well, that's 83,000 retirees, 5,000 widows, 7,400 children, 13,147 disabled workers. They rely on Social Security to get by. In fact, 50% of older Americans say that Social Security benefits make up at least half of their income. And 25% say that Social Security benefits account for at least 90% of their income. Now, some of the seniors in my district have contacted me and they've said this is their only income. You know, missing a single Social Security payment would be devastating for these households. But President Trump, Elon Musk, and his Muskins won't lose any sleep at night. They won't lose any sleep at night if it means that they can get their billionaire friends that $4.5 trillion in tax breaks. As if billionaires need another tax break. So if you pay even a single cent in income tax in 2024, you still would have paid more than Tesla did last year, despite them reporting $2.3 billion in annual income. Well, I call it Robin Hood in reverse. Stealing from the poor, giving to the rich. Plain and simple, Robin Hood in reverse. And they're stealing from the working and middle class people and giving it to the rich. And so we're already seeing how their greed is hurting the rest of us. And under the direction of Elon Musk's Doge, 7,000 Social Security Administration employees were fired. 7,000. That's 7,000 people who dedicated their careers to making sure that the most vulnerable Americans receive their benefits. Rather than thanking them for their service, Elon Musk showed them the door. And services have suffered since he made that reckless decision. Already we have reports of wait times skyrocketing for Social Security Association recipients trying to speak to somebody at the agency. They're not answering the phone. Their website has had numerous outages since these firings, blocking millions of Americans from accessing their accounts. And this is on top of shutting down dozens of Social Security offices across the country, including 4 here in North Carolina. And so while also implementing a vague anti-fraud check, a system with absolutely no clarity for what that involves. And so this is going to cause people to lose their benefits. So what are our Social Security recipients, our seniors and veterans and disabled people supposed to do now? Well, thanks to Elon Musk, they can't get anybody on the phone to discuss their benefits, and the website frequently crashes when they try to access their accounts. And I'm saying, let's crash the damn website. And if they try to go in person, there's a chance that their local field office is just closed anyway. And so they've left our seniors, our citizens who rely on Social Security with no options, no recourse, nothing but waiting to see if they actually end up getting the money that they spent their entire careers earning. And experts are saying there's a good chance that they might not at some point get their money during this administration. Well, former Commissioner of Social Security Martin O'Malley recently predicted that benefits could be interrupted for the first time in the Social Security Administration history as a result of those damn Doge cuts. And since its inception, 90 years ago, the Social Security Association has never missed a payment benefits at all. And this would be unprecedented and disastrous, and we're not going to let them get away with it. We are not letting them break the Social Security Administration and use that as an excuse to cut Social Security. And we're not going to let them hide behind chains of fraud to avoid paying our retired and disabled workers what they are owed. And we're not going to let them treat the 7 million Americans as a tax write-off for billionaires either. Because Republicans refer to Social Security as an entitlement. And you know what? For once they're right. You're damn right entitled to Social Security. You're entitled to the money that you paid in. You're entitled to the money that you've worked your entire life to receive. It's not their money, it's your money. And you are entitled to this critical program that has been promised to you for more than 90 years. So let me just say that again. You are entitled to Social Security. You've earned it. That's money you've already worked for. Thank you so much. I am so honored to introduce the Mecklenburg County Board Chair, Mark Jarrell, Jarrell for the people, to speak more about the impact that he's seeing from these drastic cuts to our Social Security. Mark?
Thank you, Congresswoman. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Congresswoman just had a mic drop moment, everybody. We got a Congresswoman that's not scared to speak up, not scared to speak out. And we know she'll cut up if she has to. That's right. I'm so honored to be here today. Thank you, Congresswoman. I appreciate this opportunity. Let me just take this opportunity to acknowledge the elected officials that are here today. We have my colleague from the Board of County Commissioners, Commissioner Susan Rodriguez McDowell, District 6 representative. We also have Malcolm Graham, Charlotte City Council, District 2 in the House. I just want to thank them for being here and standing up. And today, I'm standing before you today to address, obviously, an urgent matter that threatens the very foundation of our social safety net, and that's Social Security. And you all know that in recent discussions, we've seen these proposals that would cut the vital program to fund tax breaks for the wealthiest Americans, including high-profile figures like Elon Musk and his Muskians, as Congresswoman says. They advocate for cryptocurrency, Dogecoin, and the trend is not just concerning, it's immoral. Yes, it is. Social Security is not just a government program. That's right. It's a promise that we've made to our seniors. Yes. We made that same promise to our disabled citizens, to those who rely on these benefits just to make ends meet.
Talk about it.
It's a lifeline for millions of people in North Carolina and in Mecklenburg County. Yes. It provides essential support for food, for housing, for health care. Yes. Cutting Social Security would not only devastate the lives of our seniors, but it would ripple through our communities, forcing hard choices for families and local businesses. Yes. Yes. Imagine this. Imagine a senior that is in our community who spent a lifetime working, a lifetime saving, contributing to society, now faced with the prospect of living in poverty, just because they want to cut Social Security. So imagine the impact on our local businesses that rely on the spending power of these same individuals. The consequences of these cuts are going to be felt by all of us across the state and in Mecklenburg County. It's going to strain our healthcare system, it's going to increase demand for local charities, and it's going to diminish the quality of life for our most vulnerable citizens. Y'all, we can't let this happen. We can't let this happen. The immorality of prioritizing tax breaks for the wealthy over the well-being of our citizens cannot happen. It's time for us to unite as a community. We've got to send a clear message to our elected officials, everybody in Washington, that Social Security cuts are unacceptable. So I'm urging everyone here, everyone within the sound of my voice, to take action. We need you to reach out to your representatives, attend town hall meetings, and let your voices be heard. We got to advocate for the protection of Social Security, not just for our seniors today, but for future generations who will depend on it. So let's encourage our neighbors to join the cause. We know we're stronger together, and our collective voices can make a difference. In Mecklenburg County and throughout North Carolina, we have the power to protect the values that we hold dear. So let's not stand idly by while the wealthy benefit at the expense of those who built this great state and this great nation. Together, we can ensure that Social Security remains intact, providing our support, the support our seniors deserve, and the dignity they've earned. Thank you.
And if you are just joining us here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus, I'm Jane Monreal. You are watching what happened yesterday. In case you missed it, it was a full press conference, as yesterday was Social Security Day of Action. Former President Joe Biden spoke on it, his first time making any kind of public remarks since he left office. And then Representative Alma Adams, who represents part of Charlotte, spoke yesterday, as you saw there, and then Mecklenburg County Commissioner Mark Jarrell also speaking. Here on WCNC Charlotte, we are waiting for draft day, counting down the days, and tomorrow night there's going to be another special content interview with our sports director, Nick Carboni, talking about the NFL draft. We are just over a week away. The big day is next Thursday, April 24th at 7. And along with our friends and partners at Locked On, you're going to hear from Nick and Danielle Stein talking about maybe the next moves. What are the Carolina Panthers going to do with their top pick? So it'll be interesting. And from now until then, we can only speculate and have some hopefully meaningful conversations. What do the Cats need to succeed in the NFL and give us a winning season, right? All right, from there, I want to take you out now to North Carolina Emergency Management and Disaster Recovery meeting. That is happening as we speak, and it looks like they are speaking on several bills that are on the table, anything from assisting 911 operators to giving more credentials to EMT personnel. That's what they're on right now? Okay, so let's go ahead and listen in here on Live Impact News on WCNC+.
That we're not going to do this. So how are we going to continue to care for the citizens of North Carolina if we impact this legislation? Those are my concerns, and the fiscal impact speaks volumes here. So thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate it. If I have any questions, I'm happy to answer those.
All right. Thank you, ma'am. I believe Representative Pless would like to be recognized.
I'd like to speak to a couple of points that were brought up for clarifying purposes. I've heard the same complaints. I spoke to a person last night that runs an EMS system, and they all seem to have the same fear, is that it changes the way North Carolina does business and how we provide medical care, and that's not true. What it does, if you go to the National Registry website, 48 contiguous states and the 2 that are not contiguous, a total of 50, require National Registry or allow National Registry as their initial certification, with the exception of the great state of North Carolina. We are the only one that does reciprocity only. So if I move here from Alabama and I have a National Registry, even though our standards are purported to be so much greater and it's going to be such an impact, all I have to do is produce my National Registry card, and now I get a North Carolina card. So if we're opposing something and we are the only state that does not recognize it, are all the other states not providing adequate EMS care? I think a lot of what you hear right now is hyperbole, and it is because this is a different platform. There is nothing in this bill that takes away criminal background checks. There is nothing in this bill that takes away the state of North Carolina having the ability to issue a North Carolina card. The state of South Carolina, you take your National Registry. When you get your National Registry, they send you a card, but it's only after your background has been completed. This doesn't change that for the state of North Carolina. This keeps being told that we're going to put people out here that are not checked. This would require it to be done every 2 years. And I'm going to pick on Representative Turner again. In his line of work, he can have someone who is a model upstanding citizen, and in 2 years' time, they could no longer be that model, but they could still be credentialed in the state of North Carolina for up to 4 years. So I would argue that it provides a better scrutiny of the people who are entering folks' homes and taking care of folks.
We take you now to some breaking news out of Lake Norman. This is what's happening right now, where two vessels collided around 7 o'clock this morning. Just want to update you as our photojournalist Mason Foster is out there on scene. I can tell you that it was a bass boat and a leisure boat that collided. Now, what led up to that collision, those details are unclear, as officers with the North Carolina Wildlife Resources Commission tell us that they are still investigating, but occupants plural, so not quite sure how many, but between the two vessels, they have been taken to the hospital for treatment. We do still see some rescue crews on the water, and as soon as we learn more and the extent of the people's injuries involved, we'll pass that along to you as well. Today, coincidentally, is the first day of a 3-day event. It's the National Professional Fishing League's the Bass Fishing Tournament that started back in 21. And you can see there's some teams and rescue members. They were in the water. Some are still in the water, some hanging out there on the pier on the ramp. But we can tell you again.
Mason is saying that the people that are on there right now, it's a training, so it's unrelated to the incident.
So
But
this is a
it's
training.
near the area of where the incident happened.
Okay, very good. And so, as that training exercise continues, this is why they train, I suppose, too, because of collisions that we heard of about earlier today where two vessels collided. So North Carolina Wildlife dealing with this exercise, but we do know there was a bona fide collision that happened around 7 o'clock this morning, confirmed by Iredell County Sheriff's Office and now North Carolina Wildlife Commission Resources Commission officers also confirming that they are investigating what happened. But a couple of people were hurt in this crash involving two boats there on the water, and a beautiful day for it, it seems. So anyway, we'll pass along any information again as we learn more. Get you back out to the North Carolina, the Emergency Management and Disaster Recovery group meeting that is happening right now, live on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus.
For a moment, but there might be some solutions here. And Representative Pless, thank you for bringing the opportunity here to coordinate with the National Registry. I actually helped write the curriculum in the late 1990s when I was at Marshall University after graduating from UNC. Worked here for 3 years at a law firm and have done a lot of first response, both for all the hurricanes in the eastern part of the state, and was assistive with the western part as well. And speaking to some of the things that the State Highway Patrol mentioned, we are long overdue with funding our system from a structural perspective, but also for an accreditation perspective. There's a program upstairs. I helped write the program. It was the Perkins Act program, and so I'm pocketed and credentialed in different things. So the solution may be that we recognize the National Registry and bring it back into the high schools as it was designed to teach, because folks can become EMS certified by the age of 16, I believe it is. And there was another thing that came up just logistically. There's these things that we can come up with a solution within committee and kind of fix the programming and the funding and get the education back so that we can get more EMTs and firemen and first responders on the street, save that money, get it back into their pockets, make it easier for them to have the hours and make sure that they're credentialed and so that everything is safe, is safety first. Thank you for your time, and I'm happy here to help. And I've left my email. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So, without objection, Representative Gillespie, you're recognized for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move that House Bill 675 receive favorable review with referral to regulatory reform.
All right, we have a motion for a favorable report with a referral to Regulatory Reform Committee. All those in favor will say aye. All those opposed, no. The bill will move forward to regulatory reform. All right, thank you. And I think that brings to a close our business for today. We do have some bills that are in the queue, so we anticipate a meeting probably next week in advance of crossover. So without further ado, the following week, yeah. I've already demoted a colonel in the Highway Patrol, and I guess I've canceled Easter. I don't know. But anyway, we'll
Okay, it appears that the meeting just came to an end there. I want to take you back out live now to Lake Norman as we see the North Carolina Wildlife Commission boat coming in. As we were told, this is an exercise with their team. We're also seeing...
We're told the crew on the deck is involved in a training.
Okay.
Now, as for the boats in the water...
We did see one,
That
a
looked
tight shot
crashed.
that it looked like it actually had
Damaged.
some major damage. And as we wait to confirm that that is one of the boats involved, it seems like we have two
We have
simultaneous
two
groups going
scenarios
on
happening
here.
at once, so we're trying to iron it out, people.
All right, so our assignment desk, whether it's Paul or Anders, just let us know. James, let us know that tight shot, if Mason's listening in as well. That tight shot of the boat that we saw damaged, is that part of the crash involved in this two-boat collision that happened just after 7 on Lake Norman this morning? One, a bass fishing boat, and then a leisure boat. At one point, we were hearing that it might have been a jet ski involved, but it was some kind of leisure boat, and then a bass fishing boat. And the bass fishing boat, coincidentally, again, don't know if it's related to the event that starts today, a 3-day, 3-day event of the bass fishing tournament that starts today here on Lake Norman as well. So left side of the screen, you could see part of the wood piece on the boat,
Yep.
and it looks like it's obviously damaged. So the towboat, I mean, that's a towboat.
That's a towboat.
So
So we're trying to get the details.
are slowly connecting the dots here.
We are trying.
Putting the towboat with the boat that is damaged there to the left.
It seems the guys in the green vests are training unrelated.
Just so happens. See,
Just so happens.
and so look at that tight shot of the boat.
Yeah.
And the thing is, training exercises do many times involve, this is what they train for, but they take damaged boats. I mean, they take really derelict boats and use it in training exercises.
Right.
So you
this
tell
might
me,
be- we're trying to figure it out, people.
you tell me there's a training exercise unrelated to a boat crash, and we are not jumping to conclusions here, but that is a towboat bringing in a boat that is severely damaged.
Correct.
And then the group in the fluorescent green on the ramp involved in a training exercise.
We know that much is true.
Okay.
As what we can see.
All right. All right, very good. So, and gosh, unfortunately, it's such a beautiful day out there, it looks like. The sun is shining. I'm sure the water is kind of cool. But people are getting involved now with lake season, lake life. And this is when boat safety comes into play. We take it for granted, but vests should be worn in case something does happen and that you are thrown off the water. Am I getting an update at all? Okay, negative. All right. Anyway, we will go from that to, we heard from the North Carolina Emergency Management Team and Disaster Recovery talking about several bills. Attorney General Jeff Jackson had a presser yesterday speaking on recovery efforts, including Helene. This is what he had to say in case you missed it. You're watching Live Impact News on WCNC+.
So just for some clarity for people that are going through this, what do they need to have ready? If they want to make a complaint, they know that something bad has happened, what advice do you have them to get ready to make a complaint?
Folks need to know that you can make a complaint to the North Carolina Department of Justice directly. You don't have to go through any other law enforcement or Better Business Bureau. We take your complaints and we rely on them in order to tip us off, but also to establish patterns. So if we get a group of complaints in a short period of time, it's very helpful for us. We will use that to start an investigation. We rely really heavily on folks letting us know what they're seeing on the ground.
And that investigation, as you said, like that's where you guys get your information. How do you go about those investigations, deciding which ones to tackle first, and how much do you need before you say, all right, it's time to go, we need to investigate?
Well, right now our office is prioritizing all complaints coming from Western North Carolina. We want to make sure that folks are safe to rebuild. So we had someone say that they were charged an exorbitant amount for tree removal. We looked into it. It actually happened. They were right, and the law had been broken, and we were able to use that to launch a price gouging investigation.
So it can just be one thing that sets off.
It can be one person who gives us a specific, credible report that can be the basis for law enforcement action.
And then you mentioned that a lot of this is, correct me if I'm wrong, preventative too. Like we see this kind of opening up doors for people to take advantage, but in terms of actual complaints, you haven't seen a huge spike or anything like that yet.
In the immediate aftermath of Helene, the major concern was price gouging. Now we're out of the immediate recovery and we're into the rebuilding phase. What we've seen with other natural disasters in the rebuilding phase, some property crime, some contracting fraud, and then scams related to rebuilding. We're starting to see a little bit of that before there's a major uptick. We're trying to get ahead of it. First, let criminals know, don't try, you will face consequences. And second, to arm the public with good information so that they can defend themselves.
And you mentioned this at the end. I wanted to ask about fentanyl crisis, if that's okay with you. That's something I've worked on a lot here in Michigan and multiple states. We're now in multiple years of opioid settlements and distributing those. North Carolina is one that's been hailed for having great transparency and great communication with local governments. So I know you're a few months into your term here. What have you seen, if anything, so far change in terms of that cooperation with local governments? What's needed? What are those conversations like now?
One good new tool that we have for the fentanyl epidemic is an anti-money laundering law. The General Assembly passed it. We were a state that didn't have one. It just went into effect in December. I'm the first Attorney General who has that tool in the toolkit to combat the fentanyl epidemic. Money laundering is one of the main angles of attack that we're going to take because we want to reduce the profitability, and frankly, this entire fentanyl trade is being propped up by money laundering, a lot of it being international. On the local side, we just got a big settlement with respect to the opioid epidemic. The vast majority of that money is going to be pushed down to the local communities and used to break the cycle of addiction.
Anything else?
Should potential scammers know that there's no time limit, time frame of their, kind of like the PPE thing? People scam with PPE, year or two later they got them. Should scammers know that?
Yeah, absolutely. So a word of warning to anyone who might engage in a scam, even if it takes a year or two for evidence to come to light, we are still going to come after you for it. You will still be held accountable for it. And for folks who feel like they may have been scammed closer to the hurricane and they haven't made a report yet, you can still make a report. The clock has not run.
All right, folks, just wanted to give you an update there as things were wrapping up with Attorney General Jeff Jackson taking back out to Iredell County. A live picture on scene here with, and now we can confirm that that is the boat, if not both boats involved in a collision that happened on Lake Norman just after 7 o'clock this morning. It seems that...
Sorry, guys, the shot's going in and out, so you just have to be a little patient. It'll pop back up.
Okay, all right, very good. The signal's pretty funky out
Yes.
there in Iredell County on the lake, as you can understand. But as we go back out here, live Impact Studio, just after 10 o'clock now on Wednesday. And so 2 boats involved. We saw a live picture there with our photojournalist Mason on scene, grabbing some images with, one is a training operation project.
Looks like the crew on the deck was a training operation.
Yeah.
It's funny, so we were looking as Jeff Jackson was going, the Mason zoomed in on one of the boats, and you have been mentioning that there's a big bass fishing tournament that's happening in Lake Norman. Well, he zoomed in on one of the boats, has the logo of the fishing tournament.
Oh.
Now, I just noticed it. So
okay.
I don't know if it's involved with a crash. I don't know. I just wanted to say I noticed that logo was on
one of the boats.
Not the one on the left that seemed very severely crashed.
But the one on the right.
Or severely damaged, but the one on the right. So
okay.
Again, I'm just saying what I saw.
Yeah, these are observations made.
We're still trying to find out details ourselves.
Okay. And North Carolina governor, or not governor, but Wildlife Commission Resources, I should say, they tell us that they will update us here as their investigation continues this morning. It might take them a couple of hours, but there were at least a couple of people hurt. And so those victims or occupants of the vessels were also taken to the hospital. All right, state leaders are busy once again this morning. This is the House Committee on Transportation. Let's take this meeting here live now, speaking from the state capitol, live on Impact News on WCNC Plus.
From the concerns they have about being unable to renew their driver's license, and I'll stand for any questions.
Any questions from the committee? Mr. Chair. Representative Butler.
Yeah, I had a quick question. Representative Adams, has anybody identified what the challenges are specifically? We know there are no appointments, you're correct, but has anybody articulated from the department, inside or out, what these challenges are stemming from? Is it personnel? Is it lack of funding? I'd like to know what people are hearing.
Yes, sir.
I'd have to offer an opinion. I can't offer an absolute answer to it, but in our briefing from DMV, it certainly appears to me that they're doing a lot of things, and they've moved away from their core responsibilities. I think that there's a lot of reorganization that's going to be necessary, and I look at it from a business standpoint, and their operations are not very well organized. That's all I can really say from my point. It's an opinion.
Follow up.
Yes, sir. I just was curious, again, I haven't heard anyone from the department or anyone else. I've heard the complaints. I just haven't heard the explanation of why we find ourselves in this position. And maybe we do a study bill, Representative Adams, to dig in it. I don't know.
Well, that's what I want to hear from the committee. I think that's a very legitimate observation.
Thank you, sir.
I'm going to make a comment too on this. Just this week, I received a complaint from a constituent. Her license expires in a month, and she called to get an appointment, and the appointment is after her license expires. So she said, "What am I supposed to do?" So I think it's worthwhile to study this and find out why this is happening and what we can do to alleviate it. Representative Warren.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a comment for one thing is the Oversight and Reform Committee has had Commissioner Goodwin when he was still there and before them 3 times, and I can say that he made efforts to modernize and improve the situation. They weren't successful, but he's tried things like kiosks in malls and transitioning some services that people can perform themselves online. But I think there's 2 problems. Number one, the commissioner has always been an appointed position, which in my opinion, for the most part, appointed positions are political positions, political appointees, and as long as you have somebody coming into a department with such diverse and complicated, in my opinion, responsibilities as DMV, we're not going to see improvement there, not of a scale that needs to be done. I think this bill, that the only real concern I have, one is a safety issue, and the second one is this bill would basically be facilitating the incompetency of the DMV by alleviating them of the responsibility of their job. I think one of the things that really needs a change there, though, in that department, besides functionality, is the culture. Because it's not just complaints I'm receiving from people not being able to be serviced, but the treatment they get when they go in. So I think it's something, Representative Butler, that I'm not sure if we need a study bill, but we definitely need some type of study on that department in depth to find out exactly why. I've been here for 3 different gubernatorial administrations, and I haven't seen any improvement in that department worth noting. But at the appropriate time, I'd like to make a motion on the bill.
We have a motion already with Representative Eiler here. Appreciate
That's fine. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Would you like to respond to his comments?
Well, I think
Those are good comments. I would say this with regard to taking the burden off of DMV to reissue licenses. This only alleviates the requirement to renew your license. There are a lot of other reasons why you are really compelled to renew your license. I don't think you'd want to drive through another state with an expired North Carolina license. So I think there are compelling reasons for people to continue to seek to renew their license. Just that comment.
Representative Loftus.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As one of the chairs for general government in working with DMV, I found it to be indescribable that it takes an average of 182 days to hire a worker for state government. And with the massive amounts of holes they have across the state in licensed examiners, I know when Commissioner Goodwin came to Gaston County, we talked about the part-time people he has who he's already tried out, who's already working there. Why not promote them to full-time and work on hiring part-time people? We talked about a lot of creative solutions, and DMV is the most public, forward-facing state government entity we have. And their only job should be to show up and serve the public. And not saying every person who comes through there is Mr. and Mrs. Joe Snuffy with a smiley face. However, 182 days is a huge barrier. That is just ludicrous that it takes to hire someone in the state government, including the DMV. So that's one of the major barriers. And I made the comment to the commissioner, if you don't fix this, we'll privatize it. It's got to be functioning for the public. And then I think about my license is good for either 8 years, online for another 8 years, and it may be 16 years before I have to go there. And I'm an average Joe, so I'm going to wait till the last month, like a lot of people do, and they forget. It's good for 8 years. You can do online for another probably 8 years, depending on your age. So there's some of this that's my responsibility that I could have planned better, but then I know we have people who contact our office that we specifically say, what do you need help with? And we help with DMV, who has been extremely helpful when we identify them, that they get an appointment. But like me, they've waited till the last minute, over 16 years possibly, of getting that driver's license renewal. But this is a huge issue for the entire state. And providing them, I didn't think about it till you mentioned, you're driving in another state with an expired license. That just creates more questions. Why is it expired, which leads to more questions. And this is something we have to commit, whether it's people. I'm sure we have more people requiring driver's licenses than we did 20 years ago. So if it's people, money, equipment, I know the computer system, every time I hear something, the entire system is down. That can't be that excuse or reason every single time. But I totally agree, there has to be a way we can support the average public. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Chairman.
Is there anyone on our committee today that wouldn't agree that we have a problem and that we need to look into this? Rather than continue to discuss it, and we all, I think, feel the same way, we all feel like we need to take some action, I would like to go ahead and move for an approval.
Mr. Chairman, I was going to ask one quick question of the bill sponsor to see, to address.
Let me finish what I'm saying.
Yes, sir, I'm sorry.
And so we can move on because we've got a lot to do. And then if you want to get with Representative Adams in the meantime and do an amendment or work with him on that, that would be great. Representative Butler.
Yes, sir, that is what I will do. Yes, sir.
Representative Eiler.
For motion, move for favorable report to House Bill 821 with a referral to finance.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed likewise? Motion carries. We'll move forward to finance. Thank you, sir. Would you like to go ahead and present your other bill?
I'll go ahead with the second one if you're...
House Bill 822, and it is a PCS.
We take you away from the North Carolina House Committee meeting on transportation for just a bit, bring you back out here. Want to bring you some developing news this morning. Just a few hours ago, we do know that the senator from Maryland, Senator Chris Van Hollen, flying to El Salvador this morning to speak to the Maryland man who was deported, Kilmer Abrego Garcia, after mistakenly being deported to El Salvador. And they were supposed to have him returned by middle of this week. That has not happened. So the senator did make some comments. He is about to visit Mr. Garcia in El Salvador. This is from the airport as he posted to X just hours ago.
I'm here at the airport. I'm about to board my flight for San Salvador. The goal of this mission is to let the Trump administration, to let the government of El Salvador know that we are going to keep fighting to bring Abrego Garcia home until he returns to his family. I hope to meet with representatives of the government. I hope to have the chance to actually see Kilmar and see what his condition is. But we are going to keep fighting because this is a miscarriage of justice. The Supreme Court has ruled 9-0, that he was illegally taken out of the country and put in a prison in El Salvador. And this is about due process. This is about rule of law. What bullies do is they begin by picking on the most vulnerable. But if we get rid of the rule of law and due process in the United States, it's a short road from there to tyranny. I'm here at the airport. I'm about to board my flight for
I also
San
want to bring you
this
this
mission-
live breaking news, or developing news, I should say. We're hearing about a Spotify outage. They are investigating an apparent outage this morning. Users going to social media this morning with some of their screenshots of error messages. And so it says here, Spotify status, we are aware of some issues right now, and we are checking them out. So I don't have Spotify, Carlene, but this is
I have Spotify.
going to be alarming for
When
many
you mentioned
folks.
it, I was like, well, let me go to my app.
Did you
and
check yours?
Check it out.
Okay.
And if you try to search in Spotify right now, you can't. It just gives me triple bars. Just like can't load the page or whatever. But if you go to home and you have like songs that you saved in your library, you can still get to those, but you
Okay.
can't get to any like new content.
Oh.
It would appear.
Okay.
Yep. Can't load the page. I'm getting these 3 dots for a few minutes now.
Okay. So.
Sorry, music lovers.
I know.
You have to wait.
You'll have to go to classic radio.
Yeah, turn on the
To
radio.
turn on the radio. All right, yeah. And
Break out the
even
CDs.
that 10-disc player, that's always a good one. And yeah, one of our other producers, Hank, says I can't get desktop Spotify to load.
Nope, I tried that as well.
Oh, boy.
It will not work.
Bit
so
of
if you
a-
like to listen to music while you work, sorry.
Bit of a crisis
Bit of a
there.
crisis.
Oh my goodness. Okay. While we're talking about some live pictures, let's bring you the big board here. New York Stock Exchange opening up this morning at 9:30. Of course, it started in the red, minus 140. I saw minus 160. But as you can see here now, at 10:20 Eastern Time, out of Charlotte, minus 240, about 250 there. So we could be going into week 4 with a negative stock market, but monitoring things there. The New York Stock Exchange. Get you back out to the North Carolina House Committee.
But before then, let's mention.
Oh, please.
Let's mention some
Let's mention it. Yes. Draft talk.
draft talk.
Dun dun dun. Got to get this plugged in.
It's exciting.
It
Draft
is.
is exciting.
It is, because it's like a rebirth.
It's like dreams come true for these people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And
You
we
get
have
to
a good
see-
pick.
Yeah.
I mean, we
We
have,
do.
right? Top 10.
Top 10.
What are we going to do with it?
Lord knows.
Lord knows. Only the good Lord
We
knows.
all want to know.
What can be done? What do you think needs to be done?
Something's got to turn it around.
Yeah, come on, Coach.
Something's got to turn it around for the Panthers.
I mean,
We all want it. We all want it.
Yeah,
for them. We're rooting for you.
Do.
We're all rooting for you.
We do. We have some of the best looking merch.
We do. We have such great merch.
So to match it with our players
Let's
and
be
a
proud
team,
to wear it.
Yes, got to wear that Carolina blue, right?
Yes.
So as we contemplate and speculate what can be done, our Monday morning quarterbacking, as folks like to do, well, the draft special is going to be taking place as well next Thursday, a week from tomorrow. So just over a week at 7 p.m., our Nick Carboni, joined by Danielle Stein with partners at Locked On. They'll be having these meaningful conversations, and maybe they might talk merch and say, maybe. That's got to be motivating.
I love merch.
We do. Merch is good here in the Queen City. So tune in, WCNC Plus. This is on the digital platform. So your friends, your cousins across the country can tune in.
Across the world.
The world, 7 p.m. Eastern time. Get it locked in here on WCNC Plus. NFL Draft with Locked On. Double locks, as Chris Mulcahy said. I like that. All right, shall we now?
Shall we now?
We shall get back to business. It is the North Carolina House Committee on Transportation. They have 24 bills to weigh in on. So let's continue that as we listen in here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus.
Would you like to repeat your motion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Favorable, motion for a favorable report, unfavorable to the original, with a referral to judiciary and a favorable to rules, calendar, and operations of the House.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor, aye? Aye. Likewise, motion carries. Thank you, sir, for your presentation. We're now going to call on Representative Gable to present the bill that Representative Willis has here, HB 584. It is a PCS motion for advancing PCS. Representative Warren, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, committee. I'm filling in for Representative Willis. He's at a press conference right now, and Representative McNeely is going to help me out here. So the main premise of this bill will be to just kind of get rid of some red tape that makes it easier for people to get licenses and permits. I had this very problem myself when I was trying to get my driver's license, where you have to obtain a academic certificate saying you have a certain GPA or grades obtained in high school, and therefore if you do not have that, or that expires in a certain amount of time before you go to get your license, you cannot get your license or your permit. So where I had mine, I got my certificate, and as you guys just were talking about in a previous bill, how it takes a long time to get appointments at the DMV, and which we all know is a huge issue. I obtained the certificate, but because I was outside, I believe it was a 30-day period when I get it. I don't know exactly what it is now, but because I was outside that period, my ability to get my learner's permit was then void because of my more than 30-day period. And obviously, I don't really think you need to be an academic genius to try and go get a driver's license. So we'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from the committee? Representative Loftus.
As a member of the Child Fatality Task Force and the Unintentional Death Committee, which sounds kind of morbid, I know there is statistical evidence from 1997 when this bill developed the graduated driver's licensing program that there was a direct 48% decrease in deaths and accidents of 16-year-old drivers. I think last year or 2 years ago, we did a bill reducing the 12-month waiting period or required period for driving to 9 months. And since that time, there's been a 13% increase in deaths and wrecks involving those same 16-year-old graduated driver's licensing program. My question is, was the statistical evidence that we've been tracking since 1997, is that taken into account, or is this more of a, we don't want to have to make parents drive their kids to work, or we don't want to inconvenience parents to make a third trip to DMV? I am leaning towards I want to protect those maturity levels of a 16-year-old who might need that 3 additional months for 12 in order to become a much safer driver. So my question is, was that statistical evidence even a part of the conversation in how the bill was presented? Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Would you like to respond?
Mr. Chairman, if you don't mind, I'll respond. Representative Loftus, I'm not going to tell you that the statistics were looked at incrementally or inclusively. What I will say is, with the time period it's taken to get the license, it's becoming those same months. So it's not like they're truly just turning 16 and getting a license. It's taking a while to get there. What this is doing is, in that 3 to 5, 6 month period that you're having to find an appointment and get, because it's more difficult at 16 years old to renew your license than it is at 60 years old, because you do have to do the driving test. So it's a job right now. And so the months are going to actually happen, but if there by chance happens to be a little bit sooner date that you can show up at the DMV, this will give you the opportunity to do it. It gives some flexibility. I still believe you're going to see a lot of 16 and a half to 17-year-old kids get licensed even with this because of the wait. We have talked with Representative Willis about maybe doing this for a 2-year period. That may happen at the next committee level because of the problem we've already talked about at the DMV. And yes, Representative Warren, we are making excuses, unfortunately, with bills, and I hate that. But we're trying to find some kind of a happy medium between parents and youth that are getting their license and the safety on the road, because we all drive the roads ourselves.
Could I get one follow-up, Mr. Chairman? The other thing I spoke with Representative Willis about over the weekend was the driving log. Both he and I are aware of some young people who waited till the night before to fill out their 60 hours of required log of driving. And Representative Willis shared with me that his sons and his family used an app that actually you had to log in, it started, it would track you, but then we talked about what would prevent me from logging in, throw it in your parents' car as they go about their daily routine to get their hours. That's another issue that concerns me, because like Representative Ples says previously, a parent should be responsible for their kids. But apparently with the judiciary system we have, we know parents will sit right beside their kids and sign off as they fill out those 60 hours the night before they go. So I'm just concerned that we don't have that accountability. I don't want to micromanage. I just don't want to see young people die in wrecks that we've previously seen that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm done.
Thank you. We have Representative Warren, Representative Ples, Representative Butler, and Representative Belk, and we'll just stop right there. After you all speak, Representative Warren, go right ahead.
Well, my concerns kind of echo Representative Loftus, just the safety issue more than anything. I don't know what the sense of urgency is so great for someone 15, 16 years old to bypass this much of the law. I wish I'd had an opportunity to understand or talk to either you, Representative McNeely, Representative Gable, Representative Willis, prior to presentation. I see it still has to go through J1 and then before going to rules. And I know you want to make crossover, so I won't try to hesitate or delay the passage of the bill out of this committee, but I would like to talk to the bill sponsors about my concerns before you go through J1.
Mr. Chairman, can I answer that?
Yes, sir.
We'd be glad to work with you, Representative Warren, and see what we can do to always improve a bill.
Thank you, sir.
Right. Representative Ples.
According to what I understand, the only thing you're doing is changing the time that someone is required to not get a license back to when they complete their 60 hours. Is that how this bill works?
Yes.
Yeah, that was, sorry, I'm trying to read all the X's and adds in here that we did. But that would be the intent of the bill, yes, is, again, like I kind of stated at the start, it's just trying to make it easier to obtain with making, if you complete your 60 hours, because like he mentioned with the log, I did that, I did the paper. I try to do it as much as possible and, try to do it every day after I filled it out. and then if not, try to complete it by the end of the week. So that way I did keep it up and didn't do what Representative Loftus said, where people just fill it out the night before. I tried to do it the right way. I know that isn't the case for everybody, but that would be the hope for it, is to try and just make it so you get your 60 hours in, and then once you've done that, again, with the certificate of high school diploma or equivalent, and you're showing your proper education, academic attendance at school, those kind of getting rid of those so you can actually make it easier to obtain a driver's license.
Follow up?
No, that's it.
Okay. Well, I would like to add as chair.
At about 10:30 right now on Wednesday morning here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus, you're watching House state leaders weighing several bills. The Department of Transportation there on obviously DMV and granting licenses to younger folks. Up there, top right corner, a ceremony to rename Fort Moore, returning to Fort Benning, a ceremony taking place near Columbus, Georgia, and looking forward to the low to mid-80s coming up this weekend in the Queen City. Beautiful morning right now in Charlotte.
Standards at the risk of losing teenagers on the highways. That's the better, smarter approach, I think, in this case. And I would urge everyone to vote no for this for the time being. If we fix DMV, we could talk about it later.
Representative Belk.
Yes. Is there anyone from the DMV that we might have some clarification on exactly what the levels are and what we need to do?
Yeah, we have someone here.
Could we hear it?
Just state who you are and who you're with. And
good morning, committee. Lee Jackson, Legislative Director for DOT. There's been some discussion outside of committee with the bill sponsor and other members about this bill. The department is pretty adamant that keeping the time period is very critical to the graduated license program. The log, as Representative Loftus brought up, and I think many of us could probably understand, could be a potential that that is not always accurately tracked. So there's no real data or evidence that shows that the log makes an actual difference. However, the period of time that these students and teen drivers have to wait, and I know it's been called a waiting period, it really is just the length of time to earn the experience. That's really critical from the department standpoint, not only to these teen drivers, but to the rest of us on the road. We all know that data supports that young drivers do not look at risk like the rest of us does as adults, and so we want to give them the experience and time on the road to earn that experience. I will say that I've heard a lot of this discussion. I hear it every day about DMV and the situation with appointments and wait times, and I'm looking at Representative Paré. I think almost every single one in this committee I have talked to personally about the challenges that DMV is facing. We are fully aware of that. We're making active steps within the department, with the governor's office, working on finding the new commissioner, and we're working with outside parties to help address that. So those are not falling on deaf ears, but I don't think that this is the way to fix the wait lines, reducing that time period.
Amen. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I just make a statement? Follow up? Thank you. I just want to say that everything that I've heard here from representatives, I totally agree with. We are trying to keep youth to get that. We're trying to keep tragedy from happening, and I agree that the way to do that is to keep them in the car under supervision until they're ready to move on, because there is a backlog in getting these appointments. I don't understand how we do away with the time that we give them. That's not going to help it, I don't think. I'm glad that we're looking at that 60-hour log, because I don't think we need to do that. I think what would be great is, because for exactly what everyone says, I know that there are people like you, Representative, who try to be mature about it and do it the right way, but there are so many others that don't do that, and I know that. I raised 4 kids, so I know that happens, especially with reading registers. So I would say that I can't, in good conscience, for safety of our children, and for safety of all of us, say yes to this bill. I'm going to say no. Thank you.
I'm going to stop right here. Would the sponsors like to proceed, or would you like to work on it further, talk with more people and come back? Or, I mean, I think the consensus is that most people want it to be worked on more. Or is there, can you assure us that it will be worked on when it leaves here if it passes out of this committee? I mean, I want to leave that up to you all.
Well, Mr. Chairman, this is our second go. We'd like to proceed. We'll be glad to work on make this bill better. We always look to do that with any law. What I would like to say in this is this is not mandatory. If your child, you don't think they're ready to drive, you don't take them to the DMV and allow them to get their license. Not all children are created equal. Now, they are in God's sight, but not in driving. So some children are more apt to be behind the wheel and do a good job. Some we know are not as responsible. This gives parents options. This does not give parents mandates. So I want you to consider that when you're voting, that there's a lot of parents out there that would really like this option. They're still got to get their hours in. I know I was fortunate. I grew up in a time when it seemed like you could drive and go anywhere you want to, and then you turn 16 out in the country. So, and believe me, many farm trucks. So I understood driving at a very early age. My father had 3 speeding tickets by the time I was 16, and he let me drive him everywhere there for about 3 or 4 months so he wouldn't get another ticket. Not that he's a bad man, just had a bad foot. But so everybody has a different path to their driver's license. With the problems we have, this is another tool that allows parents to be able to advocate for their children and make sure that their child is getting the right choice for them. I'm totally about parents having the rights to do what their kids is best for them. And I think this bill allows that. But we're glad to work with anybody and listen to anything that's out there to see if we can make it better. And I'm going to let Representative Willis speak if I missed something there.
I would like, first, Chairman Adams has some comments.
My button won't work. Put a quarter in it. Doesn't look like it's wrong master button up there.
Somebody turn them off.
Oh, there we go. There we go. Just a comment. This is the one thing leads to another rule. We have a DMV that's not functioning properly, and so what we're trying to do is we're trying to accommodate the other interest against a failed or an underperforming DMV. So I think they're coupled together. We got to get DMV functioning so that we don't have to do these things. That's just my comment.
Okay. Representative Willis.
Yeah, so, Mr. Chair, sorry, I apologize. We just got back from our press conference. I apologize for being late. Thank you for the committee for having us still. A couple of things are happening, are still being discussed as we speak. Representative Hawkins and I have been working on an amendment, a friendly amendment that would address some of the concerns I think we've had that came up, and I apologize that has not been, I think, shared with the committee more broadly. I'll let Representative Hawkins speak to some of that as well, but I think we do have a friendly amendment that would cover some of the concerns that we have about just doing away with the 9 months altogether. It would, to Representative Eiler's point, help us get the DMV kind of back on track with more quick appointments, more readily available, work through the backlog, and help us achieve what we all want, I think, which is a seamless process and timeliness for all of our students to be able to get their permit and then their license that allows them to do so quickly enough to have that 9-month training period, to be able to be a safe driver and to have the experience that they need. And I think we've got a friendly amendment and work with the DMV and the governor's task force that's willing to commit some money to help with that backlog as well. And so we'll continue to work through that. We continue to have the discussion here, but what I would say, since the amendment's not ready, if we could not hold it up in transportation, because we do have to go to judiciary, if we could continue to work towards that and get that in before we go to judiciary, I would be thankful for that time.
Well, I would like to move on. We've got 5 people in the queue. So is the amendment's not ready? There was no amendment.
Yeah, I sent it
still
to
in process.
It's in the process, so we really don't know what that amendment says.
Yeah, so.
Representative Hawkins, would you like to share about your amendment?
Yes, sir. So I also have DMV staff here as well, but what the amendment would allow us to do, as Representative Willis mentioned, is part of it. We have two issues at the same time. One is a backlog of people that are in the pipeline trying to get their license, and then we have the wait time. And so primarily what we said is that we would allow for the 6-month time frame to December 31st, and that would revert back to 9 on January 1st. Then we would completely eliminate the 60-hour backlog, the 60-hour log, meaning like you would have to drive a certain amount, because if you're driving for 9 months, then you will drive more than 60 hours. We're also working on trying to completely eliminate that third in-person DMV visit, because I think, as someone may have mentioned, when we were 16, we didn't have to go to the DMV 3 times, and what the DMV and DOT has shared is we can do many of those things virtually or by mail. And so alongside with the governor's Highway Safety Task Force, they're willing to support some efforts that will allow for virtual visits, which again are permissible. And then working on Friday and Saturday drop-in hours, because one of the pieces that is also problematic is people having to actually get an appointment versus just being able to show up. Alongside efforts to hold on, sorry, I'm reading here. Yeah, so I think, so that's about it. So those are sort of some major pieces and then also allowing for people to not, when you're setting up an appointment, right now you can only do it for about not even 3 months. And so making sure that you can extend it out a little further for your appointment, which will give people more slots if they decide to do an appointment time frame. And so I did send that to Wendy, and I don't know what else is on the queue for today, but that amendment, most of it is prepared for what she sent me in draft form, and then we're glad to take the amendment if that is available to pass out to the committee.
Well, it's not available.
Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of late in the day. And we got several people that want to speak, so I'm going to go back over here to the sponsors and ask me, what do you want us to do? I'm going to leave it up to you if we have a
given
motion or
Mr. Chairman, excuse me, personal point of privilege here. Point of order is that we want to make sure that this gets done so that the advocates and everyone who's a part of this bill, we don't want this bill to fail in committee. And so I know that it may not be, but I'm hoping that it potentially could be.
Representative Hawkins, it sounds like something could be done later, that you can talk with the sponsors and they can add it to the bill, amend it again somewhere before it gets to the House floor. But I want to leave it up to you all. Do you want to move forward and go ahead and have a motion to approve it?
Yes, sir. We'd like to go ahead. We've agreed to the friendly amendment that I think addresses a lot of the concerns that most folks have on this, and it is in agreement, I think, with DMV and the Highway Safety Task Force on that. And so we will commit to doing that prior to the next committee meeting. We just like to keep it moving from transportation today, if possible. So we'd like to take a motion if somebody would make one. Thank you.
Someone make a motion?
I'd like to make a request for a roll call vote of the ayes and noes if a motion does in fact get made for this bill.
Do we have to have a motion to move forward?
May I please make a comment?
Well, I've got 7 people before you. I'm sorry.
Appropriate time.
I did want to speak to the bill, but I was waiting for...
We're going to go ahead and take a motion. I think everybody's got concerns and all, but, I don't want to be the culprit for keeping your bill from moving forward. But I understand the concerns people have too, Representative Willis. Representative McNeely.
I'd like to make a motion that we favorable to the PCS, unfavorable to the original, and referral to Judicial 1, I think it is.
And I would like a roll call vote with the ayes and noes, please.
Y'all want a roll call?
It's up to you to sustain.
Motion. It's up to you.
1/5 has to sustain.
Okay, staff, are you ready? Does anyone will sustain that?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
If that's a motion, we'll vote on that motion for the ayes and nays. I think I'm correct. And if that's, you have to have 1/5.
Okay.
1/5 vote.
We'll leave it up to the committee. Those that would like a roll call vote, just raise your hands. You count them. Keep them up a while. Is that enough? Okay, the motion is sustained, so we will do a roll call vote.
Mr. Chair, can I just have a point of clarification? Are we saying that the amendment is not ready for
It's not ready for this committee, and it would be ready for the next committee or even on the House floor,
Okay, thank you.
which seems to solve some of the problems that we're having, the concerns people have. But we've got another bill to hear before we leave here today, and we've spent a lot of time on this one already. Okay, you want to raise your hand? Roll call.
Representative Alston?
No.
No. Alston? Representative Belk?
No.
No. Belk? Representative Blust?
Aye.
Aye. Blust? Representative Budd?
No.
No. Budd? Representative Butler? No. Butler? Representative Carney?
No.
No. Carney? Representative Echeverria? Yes. Yes. Echeverria? Representative Hawkins?
Yes.
Yes. Hawkins? Representative Jackson? No. Jackson? Representative Loftus?
No.
No. Loftus? Representative Lopez? No. Lopez? Representative Moss? Yes. Moss? Representative Perret?
Mr. Chair, may we, point of personal privilege, please, can we table this and come back with the amendment if necessary?
Yes, sir.
Displace the bill.
No. No.
We can't do that?
No.
We're in the middle of the vote, right?
Okay. Cannot table it, committee. What we can do is ask the member if she would withdraw her motion and the bill could be displaced and come back next.
He's going to go through two more committees before he gets to Florida next week. So the best effort is to try to fix it. We don't always
If I understand correctly, the request is that I retract my motion for the ayes and noes roll call vote, and that you are able to displace the bill today. Is that correct?
Right, and bring it back next week after we've had a chance for the amendment to be drawn up and those type of things, and hopefully.
Mr. Chairman, this isn't working. Point of order. Couldn't the person that made the motion for the favorable report just withdraw that motion?
Yes.
I think that.
Okay.
I'm gonna say it. There it goes. Mr. Chairman, I will withdraw my motion from the floor to allow this bill to be tabled for right now.
Okay.
Or displaced.
Displaced. So what we'll do then is you all work on that and get that thing ready before you come back. And I appreciate your time, and I'm sorry that things have worked out like this, but
thank you, Mr.
that's
Chairman.
what the process is all about. And appreciate the committee.
I did have a question for the bill sponsors with respect to the proposed amendment that was discussed.
Well, I tell you what, get with them after.
Okay.
If you would, I'd appreciate it. Thank you. We got one more bill to hear and try to get out of here today, and that is Representative Campbell, HB 146, remote license renewal for active duty military. Appreciate your patience today. This has been a real tough one this morning. Representative Campbell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm delighted at this time
It
to
is a
bring
PCS, and it is before you, Representative Warren.
I am delighted to come before you with another driver's license renewal bill at this time. The This is a simple bill as a constituent request, is that we had a constituent that needed to remotely renew their driver's license. They were active duty stationed in California. We had initially filed this bill to allow members of the military on active duty that they could remotely renew their license.
Frank's a motion. Representative Warren, we already have when Chairman Eiler has agreed to do the motion for this. Any questions from the committee? Well, I guess now's the time. Representative Prey.
Mr. Chairman, a motion at the appropriate time.
Representative Eiler's already got it. Thank you. Representative Eiler.
Mr. Chairman, a favorable report. House Bill 146 to the PCS. It is a PCS.
Yes.
And unfavorable to the original. And referral to Homeland Security and military. Oh, okay. To Homeland Security.
All the favors say aye. Aye. Likewise, the bill carries in Homeland Security. Thank you, sir. Thank you all for being here today. Appreciate all the wonderful conversations and the dialogue. Have a great day. Meeting's adjourned.
All right, taking you now to some news here developing for Bank of America. An announcement made that we are just learning of. Bank of America ordered to pay $540 million. This is in a long-running lawsuit from the FDIC, and a long time coming. A federal judge ordering B of A to pay more than $540 million to resolve long-running litigation from a U.S. regulator that alleged the company underpaid mandatory assessments for deposit insurance. This article the order was reached March 31st, then published publicly on Monday, and now here, 8 years after the FDIC sued Bank of America back in 2017, Bank of America again ordered to pay more than $540 million. If you would like to read more about this order and the lawsuit, you can go to our website, WCNC.com. Also learning this morning that President Trump is meeting with Japanese officials on tariff negotiations. It was scheduled to begin at 10:30 this morning. Unclear if that meeting began on time. It is not for public broadcast, as we understand it. As far as we know, we might see video a little bit later. But as you can see here, a post from the president to Truth Social that happened this morning. Japan coming in today to negotiate tariffs, the cost of military support, and in caps, all caps, trade fairness. So he is expected to meet with them today. We will look out for any kind of results there. All right, we are in studio now with Mr. Nick Sturdivant. Happening.
I ran in here, so I had to take
it. You have a lot to talk about?
Okay, I'm just catching my breath. I'm catching my breath. Yes, 12 to 3 is always busy, developing stories, breaking news. I say that all the time, but I really mean it. We have a lot going on 12 to 3. Carlene knows it. She's in here. But today, Pete Hegseth, Secretary of Defense, he's meeting with El Salvador's president. We're going to bring that to you live. Also, I was just watching the interview that we're going to run during the stream, but the mayor of Chimney Rock speaking with us about relief efforts and things going on in that village, so you don't want to miss out on that. And Julie Kay is going to be here in the studio to talk about the North Carolina Supreme Court race. There's a big update in that case. You don't want to miss it. That's a tease. That's
it's what you call it. It's a case that's never ending.
Never ending. Never ending.
The only undecided race.
Only undecided race in the nation. So that's what we got. We're busy. That's why I was running back in here, because I was busy getting the show.
Man.
Yeah, busy man.
Busy man.
Yeah.
On demand, busy man.
On demand, busy man.
Also, you know what? Speaking of what's hot up there on the federal government, last week, remember, Carlene, we listened in on the Senate hearing for Natural Resources Committee. Congressman Jared Huffman spoke out. It was the Act of America, Gulf of America Act, rather.
Yeah.
And that is a bill right, proposed. And so he made some comments that grabbed our attention.
Spicy.
Yes.
Very spicy
Yes, you
indeed.
were telling me a little bit about it.
Yes.
Yeah,
Spicy.
yeah. I'm starting to adopt Carlene's vocab a little bit. I was
Yeah.
about to say spicy.
The
She said
spice.
it. I was
There
trying
was-
to find another word.
Would we call it tea?
It's tea.
It's tea.
There
Okay.
was there was some tea there. So I'm actually scheduled to speak to him. He's in California, but that's going to be at 2:30.
Right.
So I know you're going to be in here. I'll be talking to him from the main studio, and then we'll play that tomorrow.
Yes.
Carlene.
Yes.
I'm
Bright and
interested
early.
in getting his comments as well.
You don't want to miss that.
No.
The Jane interview, you don't want to miss that.
All right.
I can't wait.
Midweek, we're pushing through.
We're pushing through. We're almost there. I always say, I give an update during the show. I'm like, hey, it's Monday, it's Tuesday, Wednesday, we're almost there. Thursday, come on, guys. Friday, it's here. So, I got to rev up. I rev up.
You're the weekday cheerleader of like, we're going to get there.
Yeah, y'all used to my craziness.
He
so.
is good with the days of the week.
They're 5.
They're actually 7.
Well, 5 work days. That's what I'm trying to tell you guys.
Guys, I think Spotify might be back.
Oh.
What happened?
It was out. It was out. There was an outage for a couple hours.
Okay, so here's
Right.
the thing. Okay, I might be like a very small portion of the nation that uses Tidal.
You might be a very
You might
small
be-
portion.
Like
I
the
love
one
Tidal.
of 1%?
I love Tidal.
Okay. Why?
So I love Tidal because I'm a huge hip hop fan.
Yep.
So they prioritize hip hop. And it's kind of like Spotify.
Okay.
But I've been on Tidal so long, they create playlists just like
Yeah.
Spotify. I can't get off.
Right.
I can't
Now,
start
now
over.
you've invested time.
I'm in too deep.
Time.